Take a deep breath. Not because everything is okay, not because all your problems disappeared, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you made it here. You survived another day, and maybe nobody knows how hard that was. Maybe nobody knows how much strength it took just to get out of bed this morning. Maybe nobody knows how many times you smiled when you wanted to cry. Maybe nobody knows how many nights you've spent staring at the ceiling, wondering when things would finally change. But God knows. He saw every tear, every prayer, every disappointment, every moment you felt like giving up. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to hear something. You are not forgotten. I know it can feel that way sometimes, especially when you've been praying for something for a long time, especially when you've been trying your best, especially when you've been doing all the things people tell you to do. You pray, you believe, you stay faithful, you keep going, yet somehow it feels like everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. You watch other people receive blessings. You watch doors open for them. You watch opportunities find them. You watch relationships work out for them. And if you're honest, there are moments when you quietly ask yourself, God, what about me? You don't say it out loud. You don't post about it. You don't tell many people. But the question is there. God, what about me? And maybe you felt guilty for asking. Maybe you've thought that faith means never having questions. But that's not true. Some of the strongest people in the Bible asked questions. Some of the strongest believers experienced seasons of waiting. Some of the strongest people of faith had moments where they couldn't see what God was doing. Waiting doesn't mean your faith is weak. It means you're human. The truth is, waiting can be painful. Not because you're impatient, but because you're tired. Tired of carrying burdens nobody sees. Tired of trying to stay hopeful. Tired of pretending everything is fine. Tired of wondering when your breakthrough will come. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now. You still believe, but you're tired. You still trust God, but you're tired. You still pray, but you're tired. And if that's you, I want you to know something. God is not disappointed in your exhaustion. He understands it. He understands every moment you felt overwhelmed. He understands every moment you felt discouraged. He understands every moment you felt like your prayers were bouncing off the ceiling. Because He sees the full picture. He sees the part nobody else sees. The tears nobody else sees. The battles nobody else sees. The courage nobody else sees. The faith nobody else sees. And maybe that's why you're still here. Because even though you've been through things that should have broken you, something kept carrying you forward. Something kept telling you not to quit. Something kept whispering, one more day. Keep going. Don't give up. And maybe that whisper was God all along. Maybe one of the hardest things about waiting is not knowing how long the wait will last. If someone told you that your breakthrough was coming next Tuesday, you could probably hold on. If someone told you that things would finally change in 3 months, you could count down the days. But life doesn't work that way. Most of the time, we don't get a schedule. We don't get a timeline. We don't get an explanation. We simply get another day to trust. And sometimes that's hard, because there are moments when it feels like you've been faithful for so long without seeing any results. You've prayed the same prayers. You've carried the same hopes. You've held on to the same promises. Yet nothing seems different. The temptation in those moments is to believe that nothing is happening, But appearances can be deceiving. Think about a seed planted deep in the ground. For weeks, sometimes months, there is no visible evidence of growth. If you judge the seed only by what you could see, you might assume it wasn't working. You might assume it was dead. You might assume nothing was happening beneath the surface. But underneath the soil, something important is taking place. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. A foundation is being built. And by the time the plant finally breaks through the ground, much of the work has already been done. The visible growth comes after the invisible growth. Maybe that's true in your life right now. Maybe God is doing work that can't yet be seen. Maybe your strength is growing. Maybe your wisdom is growing. Maybe your faith is growing. Maybe your character is growing. Maybe you're becoming the person you need to be for the blessing you're asking for. Because sometimes the blessing isn't delayed. Sometimes we're being prepared. And preparation rarely feels exciting. Preparation often feels slow, quiet, ordinary. Sometimes it even feels frustrating. But preparation matters. Imagine receiving everything you've been praying for before you were ready to handle it. Imagine stepping into your next season without the strength to sustain it. Imagine arriving at your destination without learning the lessons needed for the journey. God sees things from a perspective we cannot. He sees dangers we cannot see. He sees opportunities we cannot see. He sees the future while we're still focused on today. That's why there are times when what feels like a delay is actually protection. A closed door is not always rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's mercy. Sometimes it's God preventing us from walking into something that looks good, but isn't good for us. And later, when we look back, we finally understand. We've all had moments like that. Moments when something didn't work out and we were devastated, only to realize later that it was one of the best things that could have happened. The relationship that ended, the opportunity that disappeared, the plan that fell apart, the door that remained closed. At the time, it felt painful. At the time, it felt unfair. At the time, it felt confusing. But eventually clarity arrived. And when it did, we realized that God had been protecting us all along. Maybe you're in one of those seasons right now. A season where answers haven't arrived yet. A season where the path ahead isn't clear. A season where you're trying to trust without understanding. If so, remember this. You don't have to understand everything to trust God. Trust isn't built when everything makes sense. Trust is built when things don't make sense and you continue walking forward anyway. That's real faith. Real faith is not pretending you have no questions. Real faith is continuing to believe even while you have questions. It's choosing hope when doubt tries to take over. It's choosing trust when fear gets loud. It's choosing to keep going when quitting seems easier. And if you've done that, even imperfectly, you're stronger than you realize. Maybe you haven't given yourself enough credit. Maybe you've been focusing on everything that hasn't happened yet. Maybe you've been focusing on everything that's missing. But take a moment and look at how far you've already come. Look at everything you've survived. Look at every challenge you've overcome. Look at every time you thought you wouldn't make it through, yet somehow you did. You're still here. You're still standing. You're still believing. And that's not weakness. That's strength. The kind of strength that God has been building in you day by day, little by little, moment by moment, even when you couldn't see it, even when you didn't feel it, even when you questioned it. God was working, and He still is. There comes a point in almost everyone's life when they get tired. Not physically tired, not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix, but soul tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying too much for too long. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. You wake up every morning and do what needs to be done. You show up. You handle responsibilities. You take care of other people. You keep moving forward. But deep down, you're exhausted. Not because you're weak, because you've been strong for so long. Sometimes people look at strong people and assume they don't need support. They assume they don't struggle. They assume they have everything under control. But often, the people who appear the strongest are carrying the heaviest burdens. They're the ones holding themselves together while nobody realizes they're falling apart inside. They're the ones encouraging others while secretly needing encouragement themselves. They're the ones praying for everyone else while wondering who is praying for them. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've spent so much time being there for everyone else that you've forgotten what it feels like to be cared for. Maybe you've become so used to carrying the weight that you've convinced yourself you have to carry it forever. But God never asked you to carry everything alone. He never expected you to handle every burden by yourself. He never intended for you to walk through life relying only on your own strength. In fact, some of the most beautiful moments of faith happen when we finally admit that we can't do it alone. Because surrender is not weakness. Surrender is trust. It's saying, God, I don't have all the answers. It's saying, God, I can't control everything. It's saying, God, I need you. And there's something powerful about reaching that place. Not because the problems disappear instantly, but because the pressure to solve everything by yourself begins to lift. For so many people, the greatest burden isn't the problem itself. It's the belief that they have to fix the problem on their own. It's the belief that everything depends on them. It's the belief that if they stop holding everything together, everything will fall apart. But what if God is stronger than the burden you're carrying? What if God is bigger than the situation keeping you awake at night? What if God is already working in places you cannot see? Sometimes we spend so much energy worrying about tomorrow that we miss the grace available today. We replay conversations. We imagine worst-case scenarios. We think about what could go wrong. We create fears that haven't even happened yet. And before we know it, we've exhausted ourselves fighting battles that only exist in our minds. That's what fear often does. It pulls us into an imaginary future and convinces us it's already real. But God meets us in the present. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year. Today, right here, right now. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. You don't have to carry next month's problems today. You don't have to solve next year's worries today. You don't have to figure out your entire future tonight. You only need enough strength for this moment, enough grace for today, enough faith for today, because tomorrow will bring its own grace. Tomorrow will bring its own strength. Tomorrow will bring its own opportunities. Sometimes we overwhelm ourselves trying to carry an entire journey all at once. But God usually guides us one step at a time, one day at a time, one prayer at a time, one act of faith at a time. And while that may feel slow, there is wisdom in it. Because if God showed us the entire journey at once, we might become overwhelmed. Instead, He gives us enough light for the next step, enough hope for the next step, enough courage for the next step, and then He walks with us as we take it. Think about all the times you've made it through something you never thought you could survive. At the beginning, it seemed impossible. You couldn't imagine how things would work out. You couldn't see the solution. You couldn't see the ending. Yet somehow, step by step, day by day, you got through it. Not because you were perfect, not because you never doubted, not because you never cried, but because God carried you when your own strength wasn't enough. And He's still carrying you now, even if you don't feel it, even if you can't see it, even if circumstances haven't changed yet. God is still present. He's present in your waiting. He's present in your uncertainty. He's present in your questions. He's present in your tears. He's present in your quiet moments. He's present in the battles nobody else knows about. And because He's present, you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to know exactly how everything will work out. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to understand every detail. You simply have to keep taking the next step. One prayer, one day, one moment of faith at a time. And one day you'll look back and realize that even in the moments when you felt alone, you never truly were, because God was there, walking beside you, strengthening you, guiding you, protecting you, loving you, every single step of the way. One of the most difficult experiences in life is praying and feeling like nothing is happening. You pray, you wait, you hope, and then the days pass, the weeks pass, sometimes even the months or years pass, and the answer you're hoping for still hasn't arrived. If you've ever been there, you're not alone. In fact, many people listening to this right now know exactly what that feels like. They know what it's like to whisper prayers through tears. They know what it's like to ask God for help and wonder if anyone is listening. They know what it's like to keep believing while fighting disappointment at the same time. Because unanswered prayers can be confusing, especially when the prayer seems good, especially when the request seems reasonable, especially when you've been faithful. You begin to wonder why. Why hasn't this changed? Why hasn't this happened? Why am I still waiting? And if we're honest, there are moments when silence feels painful, not because we've stopped believing in God, but because we desperately want reassurance. We want confirmation. We want to know that our prayers are reaching heaven. We want to know that God hears us. But here's something important to remember. God's silence is not the same thing as God's absence. Just because you don't hear an answer immediately doesn't mean God isn't listening. Think about how many things happen behind the scenes in life. A building is designed before it's built. A harvest is prepared before it's gathered. A child grows before anyone sees who they will become. Many of life's greatest transformations happen quietly, without attention, without applause, without immediate evidence. And often God's work follows a similar pattern. Sometimes He works in ways we recognize immediately. Other times He works beneath the surface. Sometimes He changes our circumstances. Other times He changes us. And while we are focused on what we want God to do around us, He may be doing something inside us, teaching patience, building character, developing wisdom, strengthening faith, creating resilience, preparing us for something greater. None of those things are always easy, In fact, they can be uncomfortable. Growth often is, because growth usually requires us to leave familiar places. Growth requires trust. Growth requires surrender. Growth requires us to continue moving forward when certainty isn't available. And that's not easy, especially in a world that wants instant answers. We want quick solutions, quick results, quick breakthroughs. But some things take time. Some blessings take time. Some healing takes time. Some growth takes time. And some answers require a season of preparation before they arrive. That doesn't mean God has forgotten you. It doesn't mean your prayer was ignored. It doesn't mean your faith was wasted. It simply means the story isn't finished yet. Imagine reading a book and stopping halfway through a difficult chapter. The characters are struggling. The outcome isn't clear. Everything looks uncertain. If you stop there, you might think the story ends in defeat. But the story isn't over. There are still chapters left. There are still lessons to learn. There are still victories to come. Your life is the same way. The chapter you're living in right now is not the entire story. The disappointment is not the entire story. The waiting is not the entire story. The uncertainty is not the entire story. There are pages you haven't reached yet. There are blessings you haven't seen yet. There are opportunities you haven't discovered yet. There are answers you haven't received yet. And because of that, it's important not to make permanent conclusions based on temporary circumstances. Just because today is difficult doesn't mean tomorrow will be. Just because this season feels heavy doesn't mean every season will. Just because you can't see the answer yet doesn't mean the answer doesn't exist. Hope means believing there is more ahead than what you can currently see. Hope means trusting that God can do things you cannot predict. Hope means refusing to let today's pain convince you that tomorrow has no promise. And hope matters, because hope gives us strength when circumstances try to take it away. Hope helps us keep moving. Hope helps us keep believing. Hope reminds us that God is still writing the story. There may be moments when you feel discouraged, moments when you feel tired, moments when you wonder if your prayers matter. In those moments, remember this: every prayer matters. Every tear matters. Every act of faith matters. Every moment of trust matters. Nothing offered to God is wasted. Not your prayers, not your waiting, not your faithfulness, not your perseverance, not your hope. God sees all of it, even when nobody else does. And one day, you may look back and realize that what felt like silence was actually preparation. What felt like delay was actually protection. What felt like waiting was actually growth. And what felt like being forgotten was actually God working in ways you couldn't yet understand. So tonight, if you're carrying unanswered prayers, take a deep breath. You don't need to have every answer. You don't need to understand every detail. You don't need to know exactly how everything will unfold. You simply need to keep trusting the one who sees what you cannot, because God has not forgotten you. Not for a single moment, not for a single day, and not even now. If you're anything like most people, there have probably been moments in your life when you asked a question that felt impossible to answer. Why is this happening? It's a question we ask when life doesn't make sense. We ask it when doors close. We ask it when people leave. We ask it when dreams fall apart. We ask it when our hearts break. And we ask it when we're carrying pain we never expected to carry. Sometimes the hardest part of suffering is not the suffering itself. It's the lack of understanding. It's not knowing why. It's not knowing what purpose, if any, could come from what you're experiencing. Because when you're in the middle of a difficult season, it's hard to see anything beyond the pain. The disappointment feels real. The loss feels real. The loneliness feels real. The uncertainty feels real. And yet, throughout life, many people discover something surprising. They discover that some of their greatest blessings came from seasons they never would have chosen, the seasons they wanted to escape, the seasons they prayed would end, the seasons that seemed unfair. Those seasons often became the places where they grew the most, not because the pain itself was good, but because of what God did through it. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about challenges you've already survived. Think about difficult seasons you've already overcome. At the time, they may have felt unbearable. At the time, they may have felt pointless. But looking back now, can you see anything they taught you? Maybe they taught you strength. Maybe they taught you patience. Maybe they taught you compassion. Maybe they taught you resilience. Maybe they taught you how to trust God in ways you never had before. Sometimes growth arrives disguised as hardship, not because God enjoys watching us struggle, but because growth often requires us to become someone new. And becoming someone new is rarely comfortable. A seed must break open before it grows. A butterfly must struggle before it flies. Gold must pass through fire before it is refined. Transformation often begins in uncomfortable places. That's why we should be careful about judging our lives too quickly. What feels like a setback today may become a testimony tomorrow. What feels like a detour today may become a blessing tomorrow. What feels like a disappointment today may become a source of gratitude tomorrow. We simply don't know the full story yet. And because we don't know the full story, we must be careful not to lose hope. Hope isn't pretending everything is perfect. Hope isn't ignoring reality. Hope is choosing to believe that God can bring good from circumstances that currently feel difficult. Hope is believing that God can create beauty from brokenness. Hope is believing that God can redeem things we thought were lost forever, because that's what He has always done, again and again, throughout history, throughout Scripture, throughout the lives of ordinary people. God specializes in bringing light into dark places. He specializes in restoring what seems impossible to restore. He specializes in creating new beginnings when people think the story is over. And maybe that's exactly what He's doing in your life right now. Maybe this season isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of something you cannot yet see. Maybe God is building something stronger than what was lost. Maybe God is preparing something better than what didn't work out. Maybe God is teaching lessons that will become blessings later. Right now, you may only see the struggle. That's understandable. Pain has a way of narrowing our focus. It makes us focus on what's wrong. It makes us focus on what's missing. It makes us focus on what's hurting. But God sees beyond this moment. He sees beyond this season. He sees beyond this chapter. He sees possibilities you cannot yet imagine. And because He sees what you cannot, you can trust Him, even when you don't fully understand. That trust won't always be easy. There will still be days when questions come. There will still be moments when doubt tries to creep in. There will still be nights when fear whispers worst-case scenarios into your mind. But whenever those moments arrive, remind yourself of this truth. God's faithfulness is not determined by your current circumstances. His goodness is not determined by today's challenges. His love is not determined by how easy or difficult life feels right now. He remains faithful. He remains present. He remains loving, even during the seasons that are hardest to understand. And perhaps that's one of the greatest acts of faith. Not believing only when life is easy. Not trusting only when everything goes according to plan, but continuing to trust even when the path is unclear. Continuing to hope even when answers haven't arrived. Continuing to believe that God is still working, even when you cannot yet see the evidence. Because one day, you may look back on this very season and realize that what felt like the breaking point was actually a turning point. The moment God began building something new. The moment God began healing something old. The moment God began opening a door you never expected. The moment God began preparing you for a future greater than you imagined. So don't lose heart. Don't give up. Don't assume the story is finished. God is still writing it, and the pages ahead may hold blessings that you cannot yet see, but they are coming. One step, one day, one prayer at a time. And until they arrive, keep trusting, keep believing, keep moving forward. Because the same God who carried you through every previous storm is still carrying you now, and He is not finished with your story yet. If you're anything like most people, there have probably been moments in your life when you asked a question that felt impossible to answer. Why is this happening? It's a question we ask when life doesn't make sense. We ask it when doors close. We ask it when people leave. We ask it when dreams fall apart. We ask it when our hearts break. And we ask it when we're carrying pain we never expected to carry. Sometimes the hardest part of suffering is not the suffering itself. It's the lack of understanding. It's not knowing why. It's not knowing what purpose, if any, could come from what you're experiencing. Because when you're in the middle of a difficult season, it's hard to see anything beyond the pain. The disappointment feels real. The loss feels real. The loneliness feels real. The uncertainty feels real. And yet, throughout life, many people discover something surprising. They discover that some of their greatest blessings came from seasons they never would have chosen, the seasons they wanted to escape, the seasons they prayed would end, the seasons that seemed unfair. Those seasons often became the places where they grew the most, not because the pain itself was good, but because of what God did through it. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about challenges you've already survived. Think about difficult seasons you've already overcome. At the time, they may have felt unbearable. At the time, they may have felt pointless. But looking back now, can you see anything they taught you? Maybe they taught you strength. Maybe they taught you patience. Maybe they taught you compassion. Maybe they taught you resilience. Maybe they taught you how to trust God in ways you never had before. Sometimes growth arrives disguised as hardship, not because God enjoys watching us struggle, but because growth often requires us to become someone new. And becoming someone new is rarely comfortable. A seed must break open before it grows. A butterfly must struggle before it flies. Gold must pass through fire before it is refined. Transformation often begins in uncomfortable places. That's why we should be careful about judging our lives too quickly. What feels like a setback today may become a testimony tomorrow. What feels like a detour today may become a blessing tomorrow. What feels like a disappointment today may become a source of gratitude tomorrow. We simply don't know the full story yet. And because we don't know the full story, we must be careful not to lose hope. Hope isn't pretending everything is perfect. Hope isn't ignoring reality. Hope is choosing to believe that God can bring good from circumstances that currently feel difficult. Hope is believing that God can create beauty from brokenness. Hope is believing that God can redeem things we thought were lost forever, because that's what He has always done, again and again, throughout history, throughout Scripture, throughout the lives of ordinary people. God specializes in bringing light into dark places. He specializes in restoring what seems impossible to restore. He specializes in creating new beginnings when people think the story is over. And maybe that's exactly what He's doing in your life right now. Maybe this season isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of something you cannot yet see. Maybe God is building something stronger than what was lost. Maybe God is preparing something better than what didn't work out. Maybe God is teaching lessons that will become blessings later. Right now, you may only see the struggle. That's understandable. Pain has a way of narrowing our focus. It makes us focus on what's wrong. It makes us focus on what's missing. It makes us focus on what's hurting. But God sees beyond this moment. He sees beyond this season. He sees beyond this chapter. He sees possibilities you cannot yet imagine. And because He sees what you cannot, you can trust Him, even when you don't fully understand. That trust won't always be easy. There will still be days when questions come. There will still be moments when doubt tries to creep in. There will still be nights when fear whispers worst-case scenarios into your mind. But whenever those moments arrive, remind yourself of this truth. God's faithfulness is not determined by your current circumstances. His goodness is not determined by today's challenges. His love is not determined by how easy or difficult life feels right now. He remains faithful. He remains present. He remains loving, even during the seasons that are hardest to understand. And perhaps that's one of the greatest acts of faith. Not believing only when life is easy. Not trusting only when everything goes according to plan. But continuing to trust even when the path is unclear. Continuing to hope even when answers haven't arrived. Continuing to believe that God is still working, even when you cannot yet see the evidence. Because one day, you may look back on this very season and realize that what felt like the breaking point was actually a turning point. The moment God began building something new. The moment God began healing something old. The moment God began opening a door you never expected. The moment God began preparing you for a future greater than you imagined. So don't lose heart. Don't give up. Don't assume the story is finished. God is still writing it, and the pages ahead may hold blessings that you cannot yet see, but they are coming, one step, one day, one prayer at a time. And until they arrive, keep trusting, keep believing, keep moving forward, because the same God who carried you through every previous storm is still carrying you now. And He is not finished with your story yet. As we come to the end of this time together, I want you to pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Let your mind become still. And remember something that is easy to forget when life becomes overwhelming. You have made it through every difficult day you've faced so far. Every challenge, every disappointment, every heartbreak, every setback, every season when you thought you wouldn't make it. You are still here. Maybe you're not where you want to be yet. Maybe there are still prayers you're waiting to see answered. Maybe there are still questions you don't understand. Maybe there are still wounds that need healing. But you're still here. And that matters. Because every day you continue moving forward is proof that God is sustaining you. Even when you don't feel strong, even when you don't feel brave, even when you don't feel capable, God has carried you through more than you realize. Think about the version of yourself from 1 year ago. Think about the struggles you faced, the fears you carried, the uncertainties you lived with. There were moments when you didn't know how things would work out. Yet somehow, one day at a time, you made it here. Not because everything was easy, not because you had all the answers, but because God remained faithful. And if He was faithful then, He will be faithful now. The same God who walked with you through previous storms is walking with you through this one. The same God who opened doors before can open doors again. The same God who provided before can provide again. The same God who strengthened you before can strengthen you again. You are not facing this season alone. You never were. Even during the moments when you felt abandoned. Even during the moments when heaven seemed silent. Even during the moments when fear was louder than faith. God was there, and He is still there, right now, in this very moment, watching over you, loving you, guiding you, protecting you, working in ways you cannot yet see. So tonight, release the pressure to have everything figured out. Release the pressure to control every outcome. Release the pressure to carry burdens that were never meant for your shoulders. Let God be God. Let Him handle what you cannot. Let Him carry what feels too heavy. Let Him guide what feels uncertain. Trust Him with the future. Trust Him with the unanswered questions. Trust Him with the waiting. Trust Him with the pain. Trust Him with the parts of your story that still don't make sense. Because one day they will. One day you'll see how God connected the pieces. One day you'll understand why certain doors closed. One day you'll understand why certain delays happened. One day you'll understand why some prayers were answered differently than you expected. And when that day comes, you'll realize that God never left you. Not once. Not for a moment. Not during your best days. Not during your worst days. Not during your victories. Not during your struggles. He was there through all of it, and He will continue to be there. Now, before we finish, let's pray together. Heavenly Father, thank You for every person listening right now. You know their story. You know their struggles. You know the prayers they have prayed and the tears they have cried. You know the burdens they carry and the worries they rarely share with anyone else. Lord, remind them that they are loved. Remind them that they are seen. Remind them that they are never forgotten. Give peace to anxious hearts. Give strength to weary souls. Give hope to those who feel discouraged. Give comfort to those who are hurting. Help them trust You when the future feels uncertain. Help them believe You are still working, even when they cannot see it. Fill their hearts with courage. Fill their minds with peace. Fill their lives with Your presence. And remind them every day that Your plans are greater than their fears. Your timing is greater than their worries. And Your love is greater than any challenge they may face. We place every concern, every burden, and every unanswered question into Your hands, and we choose to trust You, one day at a time, one prayer at a time, one step at a time. In Jesus' name, amen. And if you're listening right now, remember this. The chapter you're in is not the end of your story. God is still working. God is still moving. God is still writing. And your best days may still be ahead of you. Rest tonight, knowing that you are loved, you are seen, and you have never been forgotten.